Question for our audience. Is the PCP in crowdfunding jail? I'm joined with Best Guy Ever
Hello, everyone.
to discuss whether or not the PCP is in crowdfunding jail. I'm very curious as to what our audience is going to have to say about this, but we're
Same.
basically going to be presenting a case based on an argument you and I were having all morning.
Yes, we were. And I really, honestly, what it comes down to is what the people out there think. So we could argue all day, but this is a much better idea to put it out there and let the people judge.
So for starters, what is your concern about the idea that we might be in crowdfunding jail?
Okay, now, not to shit on anybody in particular, but so here's the basic concern that some of us have here. And it's that, so since the Pleeb and the Weeb was, it was a Digi and Jesse project, of course, obviously, from the start. But as time went along, the rest of us got involved with it to the degree of we were basically we were part of the Kickstarter. There were reward tiers added to get us flown out, and we each took the amount of money proportional to what it cost for us to attend. We didn't make any money on top of that and produced content regardless, but we were there. And we were involved, and most of us were on episodes of the Pleeb and the Weeb, and maybe people don't even know that, I'm not really sure, but we were involved on that front, and eventually when the episodes come out, the people will see that we were involved. And the concern that we have is that, so considering the fact that it's no secret that the Pleeb and the Weeb is taking quite a while to be released, and
Yes.
it's been 9 months.
Beyond what was anticipated by people.
Yes.
Like, it would be fine if it just took a long time to come out, if that was what had been established from the beginning.
Of course.
But the sort of projected schedule was that it would take some 6 months or so to release the first season, and it's taken some 9 months or so to release one episode.
That's right.
So-
That's right. And from what we hear, the next one's around the corner, not too far, but,
Yeah.
we're not really sure. We're not really sure. And so the concern that I and my PCP brothers have is we've been thinking about future possible Kickstarter projects. We've got a couple things kicking around. Radcon 3. Radcon 3. We've got a couple of ideas for things we want to do for that and other stuff. And, we were just mulling around the idea. And then we thought, like, okay, what if we made a Kickstarter? And then, it occurred to us that, now that we think about it, the last sort of PCP-related Kickstarter has not really delivered what, it's not done. It's, it hasn't been finished yet. And so based on that, we were like, is it really, do people really want to hear that the PCP boys are doing another Kickstarter type thing, or an Indiegogo, or whatever the fuck, before that's done? And so, and you and I had a disagreement, and there's a couple factors at play as to, if that's true, where the responsibility is, what different individuals, members owe to the audience, and what we can expect people to say. Yeah. So what do you think?
Well, I think the way to explore this is, first of all, is the Pleeb and the Weeb Kickstarter a failed Kickstarter?
Okay.
If so, to what extent? And to what extent is that true for the PCP, and how much responsibility does the PCP even have?
Right.
So the first thing is that if you look at it from the lens of the PCP's involvement in the Pleeb and the Weeb, I actually think it comes out like startlingly great, because the Pleeb and the Weeb was a Kickstarter. Like the idea of the Kickstarter was 10 episodes season 1, 10 episodes season 2 of this show. That is, me and Jesse do a talk show about anime, and it's a jokey, funny thing. Jesse edits it and posts it, and like the real humor of it is basically Jesse's editing. Like,
Right.
The actual content of the show is just like a pretty shitty review of a show,
Indeed.
made funny in post editing. But we wanted to have a Radcon 2. Radcon 1 was just where all of us flew out to my house and we made a bunch of shit. And it just so happened that Pleeb and the Weeb was one of the things we made because it was an idea we'd had for years. With Radcon 2, it was sort of funded by the Pleeb and the Weeb, but we did not just use it for that. We ended up using Radcon 2 to produce assloads of content.
Very true.
That was completely not even related to the Kickstarter, but made possible by the Kickstarter. So I think from the perspective of what did PCP fans get out of the Pleeb and the Weeb, they got a lot. without even anticipating it, you know?
That's true.
They got shitload, like hours and hours and hours of Let's Plays, a lot of which haven't even come out yet. Several big lecture videos that have been some of the most popular content we've ever made. You know, you wouldn't, if not for the Pleeb and the Weeb Kickstarter, you don't get the Munchie lecture on Parkour Dude 91, you don't get the Kingdom Hearts lecture, you don't get...
Ben's Sonichu lecture, of course.
That was from the first Radcon.
Oh, was it? Oh, fuck. Okay,
yeah.
Never mind.
But from Radcon 2, we get yours and Munchie's lectures. We get the Ape Escape playthrough. That's 5 hours long.
You get
of blue
the
glows
Hamboy
that are
Winter
slowly
War,
trickling out.
etc.
Hamboy Winter War.
Yeah.
The PCP wrestling, and then just all the weird shit like Jesse is Digi and Hippo is Jesse and all that shit. Stuff people love. So you also have all of the background content from the Kickstarter. If you were a backer of it, you got all the videos of us watching the shows, all the videos. Now, I realize at this point I'm starting to sound like I'm defending the lack of the Kickstarter, the actual product. No, it's still a bad thing. It's a very bad thing that the product is not out. However, I'm thinking of this in terms of what it means for the PCP, because the Pleeb and the Weeb is a me and Jesse project. So are me and Jesse in Kickstarter jail? Definitely.
Okay. All right. There you have it, folks.
Is Jesse super in Kickstarter jail? Absolutely.
Well, don't throw Jesse under the bus. Okay. I know it's his responsibility.
It's his editing project. So I mean, it's my fault though. The Pleeb, everything about the Pleeb and the Weeb Kickstarter is my fault because I started it and I managed it.
True, though I would argue that everyone is complicit who shared in its warm glow.
There's a lot of reasons that the show hasn't come out yet. I would say that the biggest reason, like sort of at the core of it all, is that I don't think Jesse even knew like what I meant. Like I said, let's kickstart it, and he said, that sounds like a good idea, and then I immediately launched a Kickstarter.
Right.
Which he didn't. He thought I meant like let's do it eventually someday. But I was like, I want to get moving on this because we all wanted Radcon 2 to happen sooner than Radcon 1.
Damn right.
So it was basically an excuse to fund Radcon 2 as fast as possible without really considering the amount of work that it was going to be to do the Pleeb and the Weeb Season 2, the fact that all of it was going to end up on him to edit, and then like a bunch of disasters happened in his life immediately afterwards.
Right.
So it was like a really badly timed thing, and so it's really my fault for putting it on him in the first place. And it also, in spite of having been a successful Kickstarter, there's not that much money in it. Like, most of the money went to the production, you know? Like, everybody else, all the PCP members were just flown out. Like, that's all you guys got out of it.
That's right.
And the rest of the money, anything that wasn't used for the project, like, I'm still holding on to the money that's supposed to be used to ship all these fucking Blu-rays out.
That's good.
But other than that, all the money was for Jesse, for editing. So I gave it all to him so that he could, because his life is in dire straits and he needs the help, you know? So I was like, here, have all this money to help with this move and shit. So, like, you know, there's ultimately not much money in it for anybody else. And the way I see it is I produced this project. I came in and I essentially hired a director, which is Jesse, director/editor, and I hired a bunch of actors, which is the rest of the PCP.
Sure.
And the responsibility of the project being finished is on me for having orchestrated that. I'm the one who picked everybody involved. I'm the one who set up a situation that was not ideal for getting this finished in a timely fashion. Now, the Pleeb and the Weeb Kickstarter is not canceled, by the way. If I'm making it sound that way, we're still working on the Pleeb and the Weeb. Jesse just seems to be working on it at like he's given up on it coming out in a timely fashion. He's editing it at his pace.
Yep.
Which leaves the question of how does this affect the rest of the PCP? Does anybody else not get to do a Kickstarter, or even as a group, like funding a Radcon 3 when the Kickstarter for the last one was pretty clearly a Radcon 2 Kickstarter? Does this bode poorly for the rest of the PCP?
That's the question. I would argue it does. I would argue that it does. And I think it's because we have a different idea. And so we're just exploring the issue, right? Like, it would be in my best interest to deny this and to go against it. But we're explorers of intellectual content. So here we are, folks. to me, it seems like when I think about myself, okay, I would never give money to anyone under any circumstances. But if I was forced to, and I was part of a Kickstarter, okay, so you raised a couple issues there. One of the things is that despite the fact that the Kickstarter, the actual product at the core of it all, at the center of the Kickstarter, was not delivered, there's all this other content that came as a result of it. I couldn't agree more, and that's all great and wonderful. But it is not the thing that was delivered, or the thing that was promised. And it harkens me back to my favorite YouTuber, Anita Sarkeesian, and all the grief that she got for, she's back from her original Kickstarter or whatever it was. She, developed a presence and made tons of content, but a lot of people shat on her because they hate women, but also because they like, she was not delivering specifically the product that was promised. And she distinctly got a lot of flack for it. Whether her true fans were the ones doing that or not, the fact remains that bad press was generated for her based on that situation. And I can't help but feel that it's a similar sort of situation in a case like this. And so the thing that could vindicate us, I think, the PCP as a group, is indeed the fact. And one of the missions that I feel you are here to do is to separate you and Jesse as the culpable parties responsible for getting it done. And the rest of us, I mean, we have offered many times to help. And it's not that we're not wanted, but like, that's not what the show is. So we can't, we cannot help.
Well, that's the thing. That's the way I see it, is that the purpose of the Pleeb and the Weeb is that it's me and Jesse's show. It's a show that I organize and that he edits and sort of makes watchable.
Right.
And the only reason everybody else was involved was because we wanted Radcon 2. We wanted everybody to be there. And so the only way that made sense, like, the way I saw it was like, all right, we're raising all this money for the Kickstarter. We want this Kickstarter to fund everybody to come to one place. So the only way to justifiably fly them is to say, well, they'll be in an episode. So everybody who's there is going to be in an episode, because that justifies flying them down here for this event, whose main purpose is to generate as much content as possible. Not just to generate the Pleeb and the Weeb, but to create all kinds of shit that we can only do in person because, it's content that can't exist over the internet,
without
or
a doubt,
would not be as good, So the way I see it is like the core product is the me and Jesse show. Everyone else is just kind of incidentally involved as part of something else, as part of, and I think a lot of the people who backed the Kickstarter just wanted Radcon 2. I saw that expressed by a lot of people at the time.
I agree.
I know a lot of people who are satisfied with the stuff that's come out, or just don't care because we all put out tons of shit anyways. And it's not like the Pleeb and the Weeb is radically better than all the other stuff we put out.
Well, yeah.
Like the specific product, yes, it is missing, and that's a shame, but it's not like we've all gone quiet. It's not like Spoonie, who
of course
promised he was going to make a movie and then has literally done nothing. Like, I think Spoonie would be in better condition if he had promised a movie but was still doing his regular content. He'd still have a lot of patrons.
I agree.
But, we're in a situation where post Pleeb in the Weeb, recording is all of us entering our most prolific phases ever. You've done Mia Mathova, Weagawa, I've been the human content machine. The only person who's really slowed down has been Jesse, because he's not in a good position to make videos right now. He's just, and like, to me, that's kind of like an act of God preventing this Kickstarter from being completed. Like, I don't think it's just Jesse. Like, it's just the circumstances surrounding him. Like, you can say, like, on some level, sure, it's like he could have done more by now, but like, it's not really just as simple as he hasn't done it. It's also like things are not in a he's not in a place where he can do it easily.
Let me throw this at you. So I feel like it's appropriate we can remove Jesse from the situation, and we can just look at the fact that, 9 months, one video, and maybe a second one soon, who knows. But based on just those facts on the ground alone, considering that this is a Kickstarter with, promised rewards, and it's a fairly official thing, even though you don't have to do your Kickstarter stuff, you can't just blow it off, I think. There's no legal repercussions. But it's not about legal, it's about goodwill. But like, considering that you're in that situation, It reminds me of basically what happened to Hussey when he was trying to make Hive Swap, and he basically had a situation where, not to compare the two, but like he had like a scummy developer just basically steal his money and, you know, run off with. As I understand it, I don't know. I don't know the Odd Gentlemen or whatever the names are that well, but that's how I understood it to be. Or in some way, the money was lost due to that bullshit. And I absolutely put the blame there on Hussey specifically, or if not him, whoever was in charge of the project, if it wasn't like specifically him, but I feel like he's the guy, because of his managerial accountability. And it's his responsibility to deliver.
That's why you shouldn't put this on the PCP. You should put it on me.
Right.
I'm the manager. I organized everything. I bought everybody's plane tickets, you know, or gave them the money to buy the plane tickets. I fucking I did everything for this at a loss. I might add. I didn't make any money off the Pleeb of the Week Kickstarter, and in fact, I lost a lot of money off of it.
I'm sure.
From driving everybody around and fucking buying food for people and just everything I did involved. I've only lost money from it, but I'm okay with that because I wanted the product. And also, Radcon 2 was like the worst week of my entire life because it was just a stressful nightmare.
But I look back on it so fondly. But I wasn't you. I wasn't in your position.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm happy with all the products that came out of it, you know?
Yeah, that's good.
It was just a really trying time, you know? Having 10 insane people in my house, and I'm trying to organize a show with a guy who doesn't want to be working on the show at all, you know?
That's really that's the issue right there, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jesse. I love you. You're my brother. I don't want to shit on you at all. I want to help. Let me help. Let me help make the show happen. What can I do? Tell me what I can do. I just
don't think it. I mean, we've talked about having you edit a certain episode before, like even when we first recorded it. We just haven't gotten to that episode yet. And I don't
that's
know.
way down the pipe anyway.
The thing is that Jesse has extensively planned this. Like he has a whole narrative for the Pleeb and the Weeb season. I think that's why he doesn't want to give it up. Is because he has like a clear vision of what the narrative across it's going to be. And we've even started, like we started recording season 3 or season 2, however you want to look at it. With the idea that it takes place after that narrative. So it kind of has to happen a certain way, you know, which is why why I haven't just wrestled. Like I have all the files. If I wanted to just give them to somebody else, I could, but like I want Jesse's product. And
so do I.
I see it as it doesn't entirely matter how long it takes to come out. Like it's a shame if it takes a really long time, but like it will come out, and I'd rather it come out than have to change it just to rush it out the door. And I think a lot of the people who would back it would agree. Like they backed this because they wanted the show that Jesse edits. They don't just want the Pleeb and the Weeb just in name only. That's how we get Mighty Number 9. You know, like, yeah, Mighty Number 9 came out, but it looks nothing like the fucking game that was promised, and that's why everybody's mad about it. Nobody's happy that it's just out, you know? So if the Pleeb and the Weeb came out and it's not the show Jesse wanted to make, people are going to be like, well, why the fuck did I back it if you're not going to give me the show I want?
Okay, but to play devil's advocate, you know, Hive Swap, for example, went through multiple changes, you know, the whole big fuck up, and the product that's delivered now is nothing like the original, and yet people like Hippo are pretty happy with it. They seem to like the product, though he wasn't a backer or anything. And to a certain extent, like, my opinion isn't really, like, the right one to be, like, voicing on this issue. Like, I'm coming at it from a certain angle of, like, involvement with the project, as opposed to, but I'm trying to, like, speak for the backers, because that's where my concern lies. I want to, you know, my interest is making sure that people feel satisfied with, like, any obligations that I personally owe them. And I want to make good on that.
That's the thing. What I want, if there is to be a Kickstarter or something for Radcon 3, me and Jesse's names should not be on it, and we should not have any managerial duties on it. It should be Best Guy Ever's Kickstarter, where he runs the show. Because I think you through, even if it's just guilt, will get it done. Like,
I have no doubt I will get it done. I have no doubt.
You will get whatever it is done. The Pleeb and the Weeb, as a specific show, is a me and Jesse show, and it's just a show that, like, the nature of it has led to this situation. If it was your show, it would be done by now, because that's the way you work.
That's true.
You know?
I remember when it was a twinkle in y'all's eye. I remember those days so well. It was a dream. It was a dream to do Pleeb and the Weeb.
Yes. And it just was done at the wrong time. It was just badly planned in terms of timing, and then stomped on by an act of God immediately afterwards, where Jesse's house flooded and everything he owned was destroyed.
True.
Like, it literally while we were filming it. So, so there's a lot of reasons that it hasn't come out, but that's me and Jesse's project. Best Guy Ever's project? I mean, look at all the stuff that came out of Radcon 2 that did come out. Everyone else's projects are out. Hippo made like 30 videos. You made one of your biggest videos, Kingdom Hearts Lecture.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. It's a real winner.
Which you edited to a video that if I had made it would have just been posted exactly as is without the enormous list of time codes in the description.
So many fucking time codes. God, it was
because I
fun.
wouldn't have watched it back to do that.
Right? Yeah, I don't blame you. And I spend a lot of time meticulously color correcting. So, you know, I give a shit, everybody. There you go.
So I'm just saying that the way I see it, if we tried to, say, kickstart the next Pleeb and the Weeb or the next Digi and Jesse show, then yes, it would be a bad idea and everybody would shit on us for it. But if we kickstart the Best Guy Ever show by the guy who knows what he's doing and will make sure it happens.
Right.
and it might be more necessary to do crowdfunding for Radcon 3 because we don't even really have a venue.
Yeah, that's what comes to mind, that situation.
There's no place. None of us have a big enough house at this point that can host it. So, like, maybe we'll have to rent a space for Radcon 3. Like, I don't know what it'll have to be. Or we'll have to go somewhere specific. So, yeah, that's kind of why it's a question. Like, it might have to be crowdfunded if there's a Radcon 3. But, like, you know, I'm sure we can come up with a project to tie into it that is not, or maybe the project is just Radcon 3.
Well, see, that's what I was thinking.
Everyone knows can produce content.
Well, see, because all we have to do,
do
is link them the playlist of Radcon 2 content that I put as the card in every single PCP episode that comes out, so that people see the real shit that we do for the sake of future Radcons. Because I know it's going to happen, and I wish that we had like somehow included a little bit more. It's all about framing and marketing, really. If I just felt personally that like the content that was produced from this Kickstarter was a little bit more entwined with just all that shit, and it kind of was. Like, I'm reading right here the $5,000 Kickstarter limit, where Best Guy Ever and Hypocrite are coming to Radcon 2, says, if we're gonna make this much money, we might as well bring the other guys down too. Yeah, this amount will pay for Hypocrite and Best Guy Ever to fly down once more, and even to guest in at least one episode of the Pleeb and the Weeb season 1. This will also propagate more wacky rad content from everyone involved. That should be the main focus, with maybe some core project that just like we gather around and then make shit other than that. That's what I want.
I mean, the thing about the Pleeb and the Weeb is that, like, the reason I went so hard on, like, making it this big, extravagant project is I thought it would be necessary to do that to fund it. Like, I thought nobody will pay for the Pleeb and the Weeb unless it sounds, like, really huge and crazy and expensive. When the reality is we hit the initial goal, like, immediately. Like,
you only asked for $1,200 fucking bucks. That's, like, nothing.
Yeah. Because it wasn't originally going to have everybody involved. It was going to be just me and Jesse. But we said, well, if we add in people as stretch goals, maybe we'll make a lot more and be able to fly everybody down. Again, it's originally me and Jesse project. Nobody else was even involved at the start.
That's right. That's right.
They're all just actors I hired on. So the way I see it, if we just are funding Radcon 3, maybe people see it differently. But that's why we're doing this that's why we're airing this out on the channel. Because we had this entire discussion this morning at great length, in which I concluded I think we could definitely do it. I think that, as long as everybody understands that it's not going to be in my managerial hands or Jesse's editing hands. It's going to be, it's going to be projects that everybody wants to do, that everybody knows how to do, and is going to be on time, because the people running it will make sure that's the case.
Indeed, we will.
And I think if people understand that, they might be reticent to it. I don't even think that many people see the Pleeb and the Weeb Kickstarter as a failure, which, again, it's not canceled. It is still in the works. But the question is, like, if we do another one before it's over, does that look bad for the PCP? And again, I won't even be involved. Like, if the PCP, if if a requirement for this Kickstarter is it can't fund Digi's trip, I'll pay for my own trip to Radcon 3. Like, I'm willing to throw myself completely under the bus for the rest of the PCP to be able to do this, because I really don't think it should be any of your responsibility what happened with, or what is happening with the Pleeb and the Weeb.
Yeah. I guess I just...
Which, incidentally, a lot of current PCP fans probably weren't even around for.
Very
this
true.
channel's like twice as big as it was when we did it, and a lot of those people are probably just fucking confused what we're talking about.
I'm sure that's true. You know, I just I don't want anything. Okay, the reason why here's a little psychology of myself. The reason that I'm so meticulous and I try to stay on top of everything so much, and not like this is a new thing. I never fucking did this in school. I was a complete fuck up. But the reason why I do and like my pursuits now is because I don't want there to be any problems that stop me from doing the things I want to do. And like even the fact, like, okay, I'm not saying this at all, but like, what if this got to a situation where it just like it was so bad, something happened, and then like you and Jesse, your project just got like so fucked up, like people didn't even want us to be involved with you, or like you couldn't be a part of the Radcon thing. Like that's just my nightmare scenario, and it worries me, which is why I want to help if I can. I know I can't in this particular situation. And as you've said, I do think you've made a pretty strong case that I hope the people will be the judge that, you know, that was, you know, was your project. It was your project. And the rest of us more than delivered upon the, you know, the requirements, which were zero. We did it all for fun. And, you know, we got a free trip. That's true. Cop to that. Yeah. But we did all this shit because we wanted to, and we want to make more. And we want to continue to grow and continue to work together on stuff. So here's my pitch, everybody. Radcon 3, it's coming. One day to your fucking face. You better brace for it. And there might be a Kickstarter thing involved, and I'm telling you, I'm running this shit now, all right? this shit is sailing straight into your mom's pussy, the juiciest location there is, and you better get fucking ready for it. So,
Nate runs a tight ship.
Yeah.
The PCP has been a tight run ship for ever since you started taking manager fees.
Yeah.
It's been a tightly run ship. And you can get, I mean, you know what content can come out of Radcon 3. There's a lot of shit that we've put out from the last two, you know.
More lectures, people. God, everyone loves the lectures, right? You want the more lectures. I know you want the lectures, you fucking plebes out there. That's Radcon 3. That's it.
And maybe if we can raise enough money, maybe we can get a better space for it. And and like, if it's not tied to something that is basically a me and Jesse project, like, we can market it much better as well. Like, everyone's channels can advertise the fucking thing.
Absolutely.
Like, because last time it was just me, because I was the only one with the real audience. Now we've got like, you've got 50K, you know, like we've got, everyone's kind of growing now. So there's more room for us to try to do something a little bit more, not ambitious in terms of the videos getting made, because Pleeb and the Weeb was too ambitious of a project just by sheer size. Like, honestly, it should have been crowdfunding 3 episodes.
I agree.
It should have been a crowdfunding for 3 episodes of the Pleeb and the Weeb. It should not have been 20 episodes. That was fucking stupid on my part. It probably would have made the same fucking amount of money for 3 episodes. Yeah, that's why I keep emphasizing that I don't think the backers are, like, that broken up about it, because already episode 1 is twice the length of what anybody expected the episodes to be.
You know, I did want to say,
there was a shitload of bonus background content, you know?
Yeah, like, that's all, like, done. Isn't that, like, all out? It's all completed?
Yeah, basically everything from Radcon 2 is out, except for the Pleeb and the Weeb and a few more blue glows that Jesse still has. Actually, all the blue glows from Radcon might be out as well.
To me,
I think that might be the case.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, to me, it's it's honestly baffling how chill everybody is. That just like the Pleeb and the Weeb is not
because
fully
it
out
wasn't
yet.
that much money. Like,
that's true.
The thing, like, when you look at it in terms of it's a Kickstarter, like, everyone's so afraid of like the ghost of failed Kickstarter, but like most of the famous failed Kickstarters were a huge amount of money. And the thing is that the people who complain about them are usually not so much the backers as people looking at it from the outside and saying, you made that much money and you failed, you fuck up. But the thing is that Kickstarter is investment. And if you're participating, you're an investor. Investors are used to failure. You're basically hoping this thing will work. Maybe you'll get something out of it. Maybe you won't, you know? But like, I think that for the people who backed it, most of them probably paid $15, $30 and they got a lot of shit out of it, you know?
That's for sure.
But they haven't, and there's still a promise that they will get what they actually paid for, you know? Like, if I came out and said it's canceled and there's none left, like, this is all we're releasing, I could understand being more angry. But, like, the show will come out. You know, like, one way or another, it will come out.
Okay, last point just on that specific thing. Again, to play devil's advocate there, do you feel at all a sense that, like, if it takes that long, it's almost like it never came out? You know, like, if it really does take, at this pace, if it takes, like, 4 years for every episode to come out, like, will people even care? You know?
I don't know if, I don't know how many people will care. I think there's lots of shows that have done things that way. Shows that just take forever to come out, you know?
Yeah.
Mr. Plinkett still has an audience, even though he releases one Plinkett every year, but it's always a big deal when it comes out, you know? Again, I don't think the Pleeb and the Weeb was ever, like, the highest class of content that we make, so I don't know if it'll be missed the way a Mr. Plinkett video would be missed, you know? But, like, for me, I think of everything in the long term anyways. Like, I have video series that people think I've killed, and then I bring it back a year later and everyone's excited that it's back, you know? Like, I think people think of this in a very impatient short-term way, but, like, part of investment is the long haul. Like, Kickstarters usually take years to finish. Like, the vast majority of them take 2 or 3 years.
I think the only problem here is just that, you know, you did give a time frame, and that's really the issue at hand.
The thing is, I gave a time frame that was absolutely ridiculous because I was imagining if I was editing it.
Of course.
Because I work insanely fast. If the Pleeb and the Weeb had been something I was editing, it might have been like a fifth as good, but it would have been out in a month. You know, like, all of it would have been out in a month because that's how I work.
I do want to give Jesse all the credit in the world for the obvious love and dedication he puts into it, which is why when I think about, you know, the discussion about, like, me editing one of the episodes, like, I don't want to because I know I can't do it as well as Jesse can. Jesse he's got the spark, and by Christ, I want it back. Jesse, make more content, please. Come back to us. I miss you so much.
I miss him too, but, like, there is an episode that, like, would make more sense if you edited it.
Yeah. But see, I want Jesse. I want to be enveloped by his panache,
interpretation of it.
Yes, that's what I want. I don't want my interpretation of that. That'd be fucking bullshit.
That's exactly why I don't want to take it from him. Like, I think the people funding the project will ultimately be happier to get the product they wanted as opposed to getting a product fast, you know?
I hope so.
Like, if you can't have, like, it would be nice if you could have both, but you can't have both because the way to get the product you want is to milk it out of the most talented man in the world who needs to be away from the internet for the next however long he wants to be, you know? Like, that's the nature of what's going on. So, like, yeah. But I don't think that should affect the rest of the PCP, and I think we should be able to, I don't think people will have any fear about it getting done if you're the one running it, you know?
I agree.
Like, even if they were completely disappointed in the other Kickstarter, you can look at this one and say, well, Nate's running it, so I know we're going to get what
the whole thing would start. The whole thing would start with a careful analysis of what is actually a reasonable expectation for what we can actually get done at a Radcon. Right. It would all be framed around that to begin with. And that's the most important step when it comes to this shit. Yeah. And, you know, there's one other point I did want to make in here, and it's, okay, it sounds a little odd, but is it cruel to Jesse to keep him under the yoke of this? Like, as a fellow creator, if I had, like, 9 episodes, like 20 episodes or whatever of a show just, like, hanging above me, like a fucking sword of Damocles every day, as, like, I have to do this, it seems nightmarish. It seems horrible.
I mean, if it was that way, we've all offered to take it off his hands. Like, everyone's offered that. So if he doesn't want to do it, he can pass it up. But, like, I think he wants to do it because he has a vision of it. And he likes the series. He likes the idea. You know, it's just, like, again, it's just bad timing. Like, maybe next year, maybe, like, February 2018, something clicks in his head and he finishes the rest of the show in a week. You know, like, I've seen him do that before. I've seen the way this man works. Horseshoe Finale was in production for a fucking year, you know? And he disappeared for 6 months of that year. There was a long period with no new Jesse uploads. Then there was 1,000 of them, you know? I'm not saying that's going to happen. Don't get your hopes up, but it has happened before.
Let's just think for a second about the worst case scenario where Jesse just thinks, fuck it. and he leaves, and he never makes
He
them.
gives me.
You know?
I take all the. I have all the files. You know.
Oh, okay.
Like,
okay, so that's the critical mass point.
Everything's in my hand. Like the second I get the text from Jesse that says, I fucking hate the Pleeb and the Weeb, I don't want to edit it anymore, I go, all right, Hippo, Nate, how much do I have to pay you per episode? You know, because I know if I edit it's gonna be garbage. So
I'll have to get creative. Yeah, I would love a Gib edited episode. I know that boy could do some.
Yeah,
good
I
things.
think Hippo could do it well. I think it wouldn't be the same, but he could edit it, and it would be funny.
Yeah, of course.
Devu could probably edit one. We got a lot of editors in our midst.
We do.
you
We
know?
do.
But there's only one who's got a specific brand of genius mania, you know.
Yeah, there's only one Tarzan boy out there. We're just waiting for him to come home.
Jungle nights.
How far away from
Now I'm getting nostalgic.
Yeah, I know, right?
All right, well, so down in the comments,
Let us know, everybody. Weigh in.
Yeah,
Be our judge and jury.
right after you're done with your comment ripping on me for defending my failed Kickstarter, go ahead and leave a comment about whether or not you think the PCP can do a Kickstarter. Just let us know, would you fund Radcon 3? With the promise that it's going to have, for sure, all the things that Radcon 2 had besides the Pleeb and the Weeb, as well as potentially new projects that we haven't even dreamed up yet.
I think it is almost guaranteed the people will want that. That is what I think. And if we firm it that way, yeah, sounds good to me. There you go, folks. Digi has taken full responsibility. All right, no blame on this side of the fence, everybody. No accountability whatsoever. There you go. There you go. So there it is. I think this is good. I think people will be happy to hear us talking about it, you voicing an opinion on it, and just giving an update to this whole situation. I think it's good. Yeah, that's what I would want to hear if I were them.
Alrighty. Suck my dick, fuck my ass.
Bye, everybody. I love you.